this is changing the Racor fuel filter. It's probably the most simplest of all the fuel filters to change when you're out in the sea. And that is that reason, because you only have to remove the lid off the top to be able to change the filter. If you don't know if your fuel filter is gravity fed, so it's under fuel pressure from the fuel tank, then what you must do is firstly shut your fuel off. And it's always a good precaution to do that anyway. So shut your fuel off, and very simply what you want to do is drain any fuel you have out. This one has a clear bowl on the bottom, so you can clearly see if there's any debris in here, if there's any water in here, and you can drain it out. And what to do to drain, quite simply, is get yourself a suitable container like this one, and then you place it simply underneath, and then just start turning the drain plug on it, and it should start to drain out. Now if it doesn't drain out, and with the fuel tap off, sometimes it won't, what you can do is loosen the T-bar on top of the fuel filter to introduce some air into the system, and it will drain out a lot quicker. And you just want to drain it until it completely drains out. That'll wash any water away or any debris. When you're happy that all the water and all the debris is out, you can shut it back off, like so, and then you should just be left with nice clean fuel. So then what we need to do is just change the fuel filter. Quite simply, we just continue turning the T-bar until it comes completely out. Pay attention to the rubber O-ring situated at the top of the T-bar. The lid can sometimes be a bit stuck, so give it a wiggle and remove the lid, again paying attention to the rubber O-ring positioned in the head. And then the fuel filter situated directly inside. Normally has two little arms on it that you can pull up. Sometimes they're a bit fiddly to grab hold of, so I tend to use a knife, just lift them up like so, and then you quite simply pull the fuel filter out and just let it drain until it starts dripping. You can use your same container to vary across, and then you can inspect it, and all you're looking to see whether it's still nice and clean, or whether it's gone very black, and these paper fins can get very gunged up indeed. And we're just looking to see, to make sure that they're not all gunged up and that the filter element is relatively clean. You will get some blackening through annual use, but they shouldn't be all clogged up. If they're all clogged up, you've got contamination in your fuel tank. You might have to look at, get that looked at. Right. And quite simply, to replace the fuel filter, you've got your new one there, and you just pop it in the top and just push it all the way down into position, as far down as it will go, like that. What the important stage is now is that now you've got this new fuel filter in, you must then try and fill the fuel filter up to the very top. The fuel inlet and outlet are positioned here, one side here and an outlet here. So what can happen is you can fill the fuel filter up to say this point, but what you still have is a large area of air which will not go from this point here. So you must fill this filter all the way up, otherwise, if you imagine the fuel filter is positioned like this, if you've only got the fuel that far up, this part of the filter will never get used. So in effect, you're using only 50% of the filter, so it will clog up twice as quickly. So you must fill this as far up as you can. Easiest way to do that is quite simply have a bottle of diesel handy, and then you can quite simply just top it up through the top like so until it actually covers the top of the filter. And then once that is covered, then you can place the lid back on, paying attention to replacing the seal. that's the seal there. Generally, you should replace that because you do get a new seal in the packet with the new filter, and it will come in with two, one for the T-bar and one for the main lid. So you get your new seal and pop that back into position, and then when you position it back on, be careful that it doesn't drop back out. It can quite easily fall out as you put it on. So if you're in an awkward space down in the engine bay, you need to make sure that that's going on. And once that's on, then you can place your T-bar in. And again, this has a small O-ring which you can remove just by poking it in there, and you can slide it off just like that. And then you get your new one, push it back on, and get that all the way back into position, and just make sure that there's no damage to it. And then quite simply screw it all the way back down through the thread to the bottom. Just making sure the last few turns do nice and slowly so not to damage the seal, and just make sure you're getting a firm tightness on there to seal it up. And so this does not need any more bleeding once you've filled it all the way to the top with diesel. So now you should be able to just start your engine and carry on as normal. This is a very good filter to have on your boat from ease of use, and if you're out in a heavy trot, it's the simplest and easiest one to change. So it's often recommended by us. So thank you for that. That is the Racor fuel filter change.